Coming up on Keep It Positive, Sweetie.
Sometimes your heart will be broken and you don't understand the season that you're in, but I want you to dig deep within yourself and do it anyway. And so I got up 7 days after my dad went to be with the Lord, and I won my first Grammy. Sitting there, they called my name, and I was like, there is no way that these people are calling my name. So I got up, and the first thing I said is, 7 days ago, the greatest man who ever walked the face of this earth went to be with Jesus, and I would love for you guys to honor my father. And so the entire academy stood up and gave my dad a round of applause.
Hi, I'm Renee Hayslett, and this is Keep It Positive, Sweetie, a safe space to heal, laugh, grow, and love. I can't wait to bring today's guest to the couch. Her musical ministry has definitely brought me through. I'm talking about the goddess of gospel, Tasha Cobbs Leonard. Before I take a deep dive with Tasha, let's get into today's look. All right, today I am wearing one of my favorite brands, Good American. It's a denim jumpsuit by them. I love this brand because their jeans have stretch. I cannot do the jeans that don't have stretch, y'all. So let's get into it. Dark denim paired with some heels. These are Christian Louboutin, just for a little pop of color. And speaking of popping, y'all see the curls popping. I am a mousse and gel girl. I got it this morning. I said, you know what? It's feeling like a wash and go kind of day. So I got my curls right, and I can say today is a good day one hair day. And I can't always say that. With a voice that carries the essence of praise and worship, a musical ministry that has blessed millions around the world, Tasha Cobbs Leonard is one of gospel's most grounded torchbearers. In recent years, she's traveled the world carrying her gift of song and surrender with her. These days, she's on and off tour stages, managing a ministry with her husband, mothering her children, and enjoying the release of her new devotional, Do It Anyway. And in the midst of all that, guys, we got her on the couch to talk to me. Tasha, thank you so much for coming. Seriously.
Thank you for having me.
No, girl. First of all, you came in here, you got the curls popping.
Hey!
We both got the curls popping. What made you even decide to cut it off? Because we talked about the big chop. That's such a... It can be a spiritual journey when you chop your hair off, or emotional.
Yes.
What made you chop your hair off? I love it.
And I love that you mentioned that, because I don't think my expectation was for it to be so spiritual. Originally, I was like, hey, I'm going to cut it because a lot of people don't know. I don't do wigs, so I had sew-ins all of these years. And so it was just pulling, damaging my hair. And then when I don't have the sew-ins, you're doing braids. It's the same thing. It's kind of, I know we call it protective styles, but it's not so protective.
You're right.
You know? So it was just kind of pulling my hair, and I noticed that it was just damaged. So I told my stylist, I said, after this, so I did the big curls for Woman Evolve. And
so
I was like,
beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, thank you.
Stunning. Yeah, I loved it.
I said, after this, I'm going to chop it. And she was like, all right, let's go for it, because I wanted it to be healthy. So that was really the original thought behind it. But after cutting it, I was just telling some of my friends, like, I feel exposed, but it's in a great way. Like, you see me.
Yes.
Like, almost like I had been hiding. I was talking to Priscilla Shire, called me, and she was like, girl, your hair is amazing. I was like, you know, just pray for me. I'm in this place where I feel like something is being revealed. And it may not be for everybody, but I feel like, you know, all the years of hiding behind the hair, hiding behind this and that, now I'm in this space where, hey, this is me, take it or leave it. So that's it. It's been a really good spiritual journey for me.
Yes, I love it.
And
I
my
see
husband
your face.
loves it. So
and that's all that matters, okay? That's all that matters. I love that.
Yeah,
but I love how I can see your beautiful face. And I asked you, I was like, how many compliments have you got to do? Like a lot.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we don't realize how we hide. We do, not intentionally, but we hide behind our hair.
Yeah.
And we don't realize when we reveal all that, it's like, wow, people really can see your true beauty.
Yeah.
I
and
love
I
it.
can see me.
See, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful. I love it. Do you have any products that you like to use?
You know what? I've tried a few, and I like that it's different things for different people.
Yes.
And so for me, it's been right now the Soft Curls by Miss Jessie.
Okay.
So shout out. But it's been working really good.
I love
making
it.
the curls pop a bit.
I know that's right. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Now, you recently just dropped a new devotional called Do It Anyway.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is a testament of just who you are.
Wow.
There's things that you've done that the Christian or gospel world may look at like, but you do it anyway, and it works.
Yeah.
You know, what actually inspired your devotional?
So the devotional is actually the second portion, I'll say, off of the main book. So the main book is called Do It Anyway. And the story behind that is when I released my album Grace, so that's the album that has Break Every Chain, Confidence, Happy, you know, Smile, all of those songs are on there. That album was nominated for 7 awards that year. So it was Stellar Awards, Dove Awards, and 2 Grammys.
Wow.
And literally a freshman artist. It's my first album with a label. And my dad was a down home, I'm from Jessup, Georgia, so country pastor, and he didn't leave our church for anything. So literally we would do vacations from Sunday evening to Saturday morning because we would be back on Sundays, right? And so all of the award shows literally are on weekends. So Saturdays, Sundays, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, Daddy is not leaving Jessup. But they weren't that kind of parent. They were very, very supportive. So my dad was like, hey, Daddy's gonna be with you in Nashville. I'm coming to Nashville. But Daddy's not gonna be in LA, but I want you to go anyway. He just kept saying, Daddy's not gonna be in LA, I want you to go anyway. And I was like, nobody expects you to go to Nashville, LA, nowhere. You're not leaving Jessup. So I'm just excited that you're coming anywhere. And so the Stellar Awards happened in Nashville, and I had 60 seconds to sing Break Every Chain. So 60 seconds. It felt like 2 minutes, but it was 60 seconds. So I was like, I'm gonna give it all I got in these 60 seconds. And to look out and see my parents in the audience, because they had like the stage in the middle of the space. And so I could see everybody's faces. My dad, he's beaming with pride. And so that night I won 3 Stellar Awards, and we were hanging out in my mentor's hotel room. We were just hanging out, celebrating what happened that night. William Murphy, and he was like, call Dad and see if they want to come hang out. It was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So I was like, guys, we got Daddy to Nashville. We left the church. He's not coming to your room at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I texted him, was like, Dad, hey, we're just hanging out a little bit. He immediately responded. It was like, me and your mom, we're on the way. I was like, are you okay? You know. So they came, and my dad was 2 things. He was a man of very few words, but if he spoke, it was either profound or he was gonna have you in the floor screaming, laughing. And so that night he pulled out his greatest comedy show. I mean, he had us in the floor just crying, laughing. And I remember they were leaving at about 4 o'clock that morning. He was getting on the elevator, and I said, hey Dad, he had 3 awards in his hand because I told him I would give him those awards. That's a long story. We'll have to revisit that because I did an independent project and I talked him into being the executive producer. Really? And he was like, oh yeah, until he figured out what it was. He was like, wait a minute, I got to pay for all of this? So he would always say, when Daddy gonna get his money back? When the executive producer get paid? He would always say that. And so I told him, I said, hey, this is what I'll do. If I win any awards, you can have them all. And so he took that thing to heart. He said, I'm taking these awards. So he built a curio for all of the awards that he felt like I would win. And so that night, he was getting on the elevator, he had the awards in his hands. I was like, Daddy, take out one, I want to take a picture. And so he took out one of my Stellar Awards. I snapped a photo, and that would be the last time I saw my dad on the earth. Yes, the next morning they got in a car, and he had a heart attack in the car and went to be with Jesus. And so, of course, it was devastating. You know, I'm like, this is unexpected. And I could always hear his voice ringing in my ears. So the Grammys would be 7 days later. And I could hear him saying, Daddy's not going to be with you in LA, but I want you to go anyway. I want you to go anyway. And so now I realize that he was leaving with me the last lesson that he would leave, that sometimes your heart will be broken and you don't understand the season that you're in, but I want you to dig deep within yourself and do it anyway. And so I got up 7 days after my dad went to be with the Lord, and I won my first Grammy. Sitting there, they called my name, and I was like, there is no way that these people are calling my name. You know, so I got up, and the first thing I said is, 7 days ago, the greatest man who ever walked the face of this earth went to be with Jesus, and I would love for you guys to honor my father. And so the entire academy stood up and gave my dad a round of applause. But so that lesson, I felt like I need to give this to as many people as I can. So if I got to do it in the form of a book or a devotional or a song, I want people to know that whatever you need, it's within you. You just got to dig deep and do that thing anyway.
Ooh. Girl, you over here, eyes wet. I'm like, oh my gosh. Tasha, thank you for sharing. That's an incredible story.
Wow, thank you.
And I know a lot of people wouldn't have been able to get up 7 days later after losing a parent.
It was tough. It was tough. Everything about it is still foggy right now.
Yeah.
You know, because you're smothered in grief at that time. It was unexpected.
Yeah.
But I knew one thing, that Daddy wanted me to be there. So,
he did, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that is beautiful. You are all over the place. You're doing music, you're touring, you just started your own church. That's so incredible. The Purpose
Place.
Purpose Place.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What started that and what inspired that? Because I know a lot of my Christian friends say that they have such a hard time finding a safe church home. I have friends that live in LA that are like ministers and people that really are seeking that. They're like, we just cannot find a place.
Wow.
So what made you say, I want, because I've known you to do lead praise and worship at different places. And you actually, I used to go to Free Chapel. And what's the church here in Midtown? I just drew a blank. Louis Giglio.
Passion.
Yeah.
I used to
go there,
Passion.
and I love that live album that you did there.
Yeah.
But so you've gone to all these different churches. What made you say, honey, we need to start our own church? What was that?
I didn't.
Yeah. She said that was not me.
So my dad was, I've been walking with pastors my entire life. My dad was a pastor. My husband tricked me. I tell everybody my husband tricked me because while we were dating, I asked him, are you a pastor? And he said adamantly no. So I was like, oh, we good. I don't want nothing to do with this.
Ma'am.
And so we're about 2 years into our marriage, and here he comes sitting up in the middle of the night crying. I feel the call of God.
God did not say that now. You told me.
Yes.
In the
what
beginning.
Are we doing? We got to stick with the program.
I like the program we're on right now. That is funny.
So yeah, he had this calling, and I think it was obvious, you know, the entire time because of both of us just have a heart for kingdom ministry and for people to fulfill purpose in the earth. So, and it's what we've done. Even with our team members, we push people. I don't want you here working for me forever. I want you to do what God calls you to do. If it's to start a business, whatever it is, I want this to be a ground where it's like you're educating yourself. You're getting what you need so you can do what God has called you to do. And so I think it's just always been in the both of us because he's the same way. So my husband's actually the senior pastor, and I'm just there. I'm a co-pastor with him.
Funny.
But we were about 2 or 3 years into our marriage, and he was like, you know, God has called me, Tasha, and I know that you also have that calling on you. So first of all, you need to stop being rebellious.
Yeah, that's good.
But I felt like, you know, what does God need with another church? So we have to be very, very sure about the vision because it's just not a place where I want us to come sing some pretty songs people have, you know, experience, give you chills and all that kind of stuff, but you leave and you're not changed or transformed, you know? And so we went to work just praying. And at the time we were actually serving as worship pastors at a church in Greenville, Relentless Church with John and Abbott.
Yes.
And during that time we had conversations even with them like, hey, we feel this calling on our lives, but where we're serving at right now, we feel like it's a great place for us to get training together because both of us had done ministry separate, but we never together in our marriage. And so that gave us an opportunity to work together, plan together, grow together. And so we were there for 2 years. And then after that, you know, we just felt like, hey, it's time. And this is the interesting part where God always throws these monkey wrenches. You think you got it, and he's like, nope, here's a little twist. And so we were planning to do like this pop-up, like, okay, we're going to do a pop-up in Spartanburg, South Carolina. We had never even really been to the city. We just knew it was 45 minutes outside of Greenville. And it's just where my husband's heart was. Like, hey, it's the city, it's Spartanburg, where I feel like we're called to. And so we were going to do like this pop-up service, see if people show up. And I mean, as soon as we were about to do it, the pandemic hit.
No.
And so we were going to do it in June, and pandemic hit in March, right? And we're sitting at the house, like everybody thought at the time it was going to be 2 weeks. So it was like in 2 weeks going to be gone, everybody be healed. And it wasn't. And so a month, about 3 weeks later, I was downstairs, my husband was upstairs. Both of us came together and was like, hey, I feel like we need to do Bible studies right now. I feel like God is saying, and he was like, God told me that too. I was like, oh, okay. So we're 2 church kids and we have a plan. We know how to do this. You start a Bible study, you do pop-ups. You know, we had a plan, but God was like, no, we want you to do this in the pandemic. So how do you start a church in a pandemic? We started in April. It was a month after the pandemic started. So for 2 years, our church was virtual. We had never experienced in-person church whatsoever. So even now to this day, like the mother of our church, she lives in Chicago. Chicago. We have people that drive in from Atlanta, drive in from Savannah, because they connected to us in the middle of a pandemic. And right now, they love their church so much that they're willing to get in their cars, to get on planes, to fly in. So I think that's what makes our church so interesting, that in the middle of this moment that feels like chaos, God brought this group of people together, and he's like, we're gonna build a community of people who will restore hope to the community. So that's our vision.
I love that. I love that. It's funny because I just did a podcast with B. Simone, and I don't know, I guess since I started dressing more ladylike, everyone's like, every time I come to church, they're like, because I would wear like,
First lady.
I would literally, I'm like, first lady. I'm like, I am not going to be a first lady. And they're like, don't ever say that.
I don't know,
so
it's
when
on
you
you a
said
little
that,
bit. It's on you a little bit.
It's so funny. Like, when did you just started dressing so ladylike all of a sudden? And I was like, I just got older, and I was like, let me switch it up, because but I'm still a tomboy at heart. I love, like I told you, I love my sweats and my hoodies. I'm a pullover hoodie any day, even if it's 90 degrees outside. I'll wear a hoodie. I just love hoodies. But she said that, and I was like, I was like, no. So when you said you asked him that question,
wait.
I identify, because that's, no.
It's a beautiful experience, though, just to watch people grow.
I can imagine.
There are some that started with us 4 years ago, and now I look at them and where they are and how they've grown as a person. It's just like, wow, this is it. To see the transformation is what keeps us going. Like if we were there and we show up and everybody's still a bunch of crazos, I'd be like, no, we ain't called to this, because nobody ain't growing up. But to see every week that different people are just growing and fulfilling purpose, that's what keeps us going.
I love that. Now, when your husband told you, I feel like God has called me to do this, was there any moment where you felt like, okay, I need to submit to this? Because we talk about submission when it comes to marriages, but even though you were having a little hesitance and reluctancy, was there any moment you're like, you know what? Okay, God, let me just submit to this. If this is what his vision is, how do you navigate submission in your marriage?
I trust the God in my husband. Like if he says, God says something, no matter how I feel, like I'm submitted to it wholeheartedly. There's not been a time where I've said, okay, God, I trust what you said to him, that it's let me down.
Wow.
And I know he's human and he's flawed and all of that, but I believe that he's assigned to lead our family. So when I said yes to him, I said yes to everything that God instructs him for us. That's my dude. That's my baby.
Y'all be rolling.
So it's
y'all
like, hey, even if we going down, I'm gonna go down with you. but I felt like, I felt like if God said this to him, that he's not gonna. Number one, he's not gonna say God said something he didn't say. My husband ain't that kind of guy. He'd be like, I feel like, I think. But when he says God says, I trust it wholeheartedly.
I love that. I love that. So you all have a blended family. You recently adopted, and you've been very open about your fertility journey. I recently went to my gynecologist and got all my labs done, blood work, testing and everything. And she said, it's too late to freeze your eggs. And it was like a gut punch.
Wow.
I was like, and I had this friend, and I used to get so frustrated with her because every time we would talk, it would come up, have you frozen your eggs? Did you freeze your eggs yet? I'm like, get out of my uterus, girl. Like, leave me alone, And I've been my career took off very late in life. So the time that I should have been.
It's such a beautiful career.
Thank you.
Thank you. You are such an inspiration.
Thank you, son. And I want to be that for people, because a lot of times we feel like it's too late to get started or to get going. I hope that I'm a source of inspiration for people who are still searching, even later on in their life. It's never too late. That's how I feel. But in this moment, when she told me that, I was like, oh my gosh. And she said, she's like, I don't even want you to go through IVF, because if they go in and they pull the eggs that you do have, say only 2 of them are like good, and what if you lose them? And then she's like, she said, your probability to have a child is better to do it naturally than to go through all that. And I would like to know, because a lot of people leave out, they're like, oh yeah, I froze my eggs, but they leave out all the wear and tear and how emotional that journey was. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I think, and I don't want to over spiritualize everything, but I think everybody's journey is different. I feel like it's, for me, so our experience is that we went through IVF, and we talked a little bit before, and it's something, we actually ended up with 3 embryos, one that was implanted, and we ended up losing that baby. And that was literally one of the hardest things I'd ever gone through. And for me, just super transparent. You know, we can sing about the God of peace, the God of joy, the God of life. We can preach about it. But when you have to walk that thing out and live it out, that's when it's the true test of your faith.
Yes.
And for me, I needed that season to show me that there were areas that had been lying dormant of a lack of faith inside of me. Because I immediately started questioning God. Like, do I believe what I've been singing about? Do I believe what I've been preaching about? Because you didn't come through with what you said.
Come on.
You know, and he had to remind me that, Tasha, you heard my will, but you didn't stick around to hear my way. You did it your way.
I'm about to run.
And so he started just showing me through timelines that, hey, I showed you, yes, you're going to have a beautiful baby boy. He going to look just like you, act just like you, but I never once said that it would be the traditional way.
Yeah.
You went about trying to fulfill God's will your way, and that never works, you know? And so we had to go back now and say, well, what is your way? What was your way? We know your will, and that excites us. You know, sometimes the will excites you. You're going to have a mansion, you're going to be a millionaire, but the process of it is the part that's grueling, you know. And so for me,
grueling.
Yes. So
go on and shout, ASHAUNNA. Go on and shout, girl.
We shouting in here, you know, and I believe that so many of us, you could hear the prophecy, even when we're younger, people speaking over your life. I remember my mom would say, I see your name in lights. You know, we love that part.
I see your name on the building.
The process.
To get to that.
Or his way.
Yes.
His way is not always comfortable. And sometimes it's foggy and you can't see it. And so for us, God's way, I remember my husband came to me probably about 5 or 6 months after we lost the baby. And I had gone through it was very challenging. It was a dark space for me. And I literally had to record an album in the middle of that.
What?
So I remember going to Nashville 3 days after we found out we lost the baby. And I was like, I'm not going to no rehearsals. If this going to be, if you want me to do this, you going to make this happen. Yeah. So, you know, just, you know, we can get sometimes like, you God, you told me no, I'm upset. So you do your will, your way. Like, so I went and I was like, I'm not going to go to rehearsal. I'm not going to do anything. But I ended up going to one of the rehearsals and they were doing a song that's on that album. It says, you're going to get the glory out of this. It was a song that I wrote before ever really getting into this, losing the baby. It was during the IVF. I know you're going to get the glory out of this. And they started singing that song and literally everything I was feeling, the walls came down. It started to break. And my team didn't know what we were going through, but they felt us. So they immediately just started praying for my husband and I. And I remember after going through that recording, if you go back now, the name of that album is Royalty. So going into it, I'm singing about we're the royal priesthood. I'm a king's kid. I'm all excited. I had on crowns and gowns on the photo shoot. And God was like, no. I'm going to show you what royalty really is and what it really means to be my child. And so through that season, I had to really live out. There's a song on that album called You Never Gave Up. Like it felt like the walls were closing in. Here I am writing all of these songs before that season, not knowing that these songs were going to usher me through that season. You know, I'm thinking I'm writing for everybody. Anybody going through depression, anybody going through anxiety. But it was really, really for me. And so when we got back home, my husband was like, baby, what do you think about adoption? And I didn't hear just my husband. I heard him speaking to me, this is God's way. You know, and so we went through that process and it was miraculous. So my answer would be everybody's journey is different. And you can, you know, I could sit here and say, do it my way, or, you know, your friends can say, do it their way. But ultimately, I would say, do it God's way. And you'll know when it's his way because it feels right. You know, it feels like, man, this is me. Exactly. And it's funny you say that because when you said your faith was truly tested, I find myself now being in a position when she told me it's too late for all that. Now it's like, okay, you really got to activate this faith that you in a different position. Because I've had faith in my career. I've had faith in for God to lead relationships and to guide me through life. But this is something totally different. You know, and the fear. To have faith for the things you can't see. Like I can see that this relationship ain't right, so I can see, let me go and get out of this. You know, I can see where my career is going, but I can't see where this baby will come from. That's a different kind of
It's
faith.
Different, So I find myself sitting in just quiet spaces, praying and talking to God to like just lead me through this. Don't let it like take, because sometimes it can overtake your mind. I know for like when I turned 35, everything was just like going, I'm talking about lightning speed, career, and I'm just like boom, 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 boom.
Wow.
And then you get to like 40 and like, wait. I'm here already? And then it's like, oh yeah, it's too late. And you're like, wait, what? But I know the God I serve.
Oh yeah.
It's never.
It's not too
so
late.
I did Latarius Whitfield's podcast, Dear Future Wifey, and he had asked about that, and I was like, I feel
Love
like now,
Latarius.
isn't he everything? Love him. I was like, you know, bro, I feel like I'm in a space now where if it's meant to be, God will allow it to happen the way He wants it to happen, in His will, not my way. Because I know, I'll be like, all right, look, we're gonna figure this thing out. But definitely, faith is super activated right now.
That's awesome.
I love that.
So Asher.
Yes.
I gotta talk about my
He is,
babies.
baby,
Well,
he
let me
is
talk
adorable.
about all of them.
Oh yeah, let's talk about all the babies. Yes.
You know what? So we mentioned the blended family.
Yes.
And for me, it was such a growing up experience because you're thinking, I'm gonna go in and this is the role I play. This is the parent that I am. I'm the disciplinary. This is what I bring to the table. And it was so much different. My children have taught me so much about life, so much about myself. I've had to grow up to become the mother or stepmom that they need. You know what I'm saying? Just to fill in those gaps and to be able to do it with their mom and with my husband.
That's awesome.
It's, you know, and it wasn't always that way. You have to grow into that. I will never forget our two youngest before Asher. Their mom called me one day and she was like, you know, I was just watching this podcast with Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith's oldest son's mom. And she was like, she said something that literally just shook me to the core, that I love you the way that I love you because I saw the way that you love my children. And she told me, she said, Tasha, I can't help but love you when I see the way that you love my babies. And from that moment, all of the anything that was a source of tension, we go into it looking like, hey, this is about these kids. And so we put ourselves to the side and it has just been such a beautiful experience.
I love that.
So my oldest is 21.
Okay.
22. Yes, 22 now. She just graduated Fayetteville State.
Okay, yes.
She's working in Charlotte. She got a job and everything. So
Look
she
at
out of our
God.
pockets.
Right.
Yeah, so our middle son, he is at North Carolina A&T. Okay. So he's a freshman there now. And then we have Symphony, who is our 13-year-old. Okay. So that's the one to try you. Right?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's that age.
And then we got Asher, who really tries you. Like, it's 3-year-old. Like, what is wrong with these teenagers?
No, my nephew is 3, and I'm like, they're like adults.
Yeah, but
like,
what? But you're not.
But you're a child. They're like so grown. I'm like,
People warn you about 2, but they don't really warn you about
that 3.
3 is
different.
Because they can talk now and talk back.
Oh yeah.
What do you, what? Where's my little baby? I ask him that all the time. Where's my little tiny baby? He's like, I'm a big boy.
Yep, that's right.
So Asher is our baby.
He is. I love y'all's photo shoots that you all do.
Sunday shoots with Asher. Ooh, that's a time. He's a drummer, so Asher plays the drums.
Oh, awesome.
And it wasn't forced on him. Like, Asher picked up drumsticks probably at about 3 months old.
Wow.
And I posted a video the other day of him like playing. People was like, oh, this used to be like cute, but now it's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
He can really play. Yeah,
that's incredible. Really all right. So is he gonna be playing for the church?
You know, we try to, Sunday, because he stares at our drummer the entire service. I mean, he's locked
studying
in.
him,
Yes. So while he was staring at him, because Asher wants us to carry him so he can see the drums. He can't see what people standing up.
Oh, yeah.
But he's 50 pounds. Like, I can't hold you the whole service. So I stood him up on the stage, and I was like, just go over there. He was like, no, not big enough. Like, he knows. He comprehends that I'm just not big enough yet, but one day I'm going to
be over there. That is so cute. I love that.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. And I love that your husband's ex was able to because a lot of people are not that blessed to have somebody mature enough to say, I love the way you love my children, so I love you for that. And to be able to get along, you know, because it doesn't have to be, people move on, life goes on, but we can all get along.
Yeah.
I love
and
that.
I see the comments, y'all. Like, I'll post something like that, and they're like, that's y'all. It ain't gonna never be me. And I think you have to grow to that place where I will deny myself for the sake of peace for these children.
Absolutely.
You know, and whatever that means. Because they'll, you know, she trifling, he trifling, it's never gonna happen. You know, that part you have to leave into a place of prayer, the growing up, the maturing, the putting the past behind us. But the only person you can really work on is yourself. And you got to find out where have I been the problem. You know, you got to really be honest with yourself. Because we got to be honest, y'all. It ain't always everybody else.
It's not. No, it is not. That is real. That is real. You have been very vocal, even through your music, about depression and mental health. Where do you stand now, and how important? Because I know now everybody's talking about it, but you've actually spoken about it. And a lot of times Christians don't speak about it. So I love that when you sing about the state of depression, and you on one of Maverick City's albums, you took a moment to talk in the room, and you talked about your cousin staying with you and how she loved you. Like she said, Tasha, I can't do this no more. And you felt rejected, but God was like, no, like this, you got to work on this. What steps did you take to get to where you are now? Because the Tasha I see now, like you look like you've done the work.
You know what? And I am an advocate for therapy. All of us need to get a therapist, you know? And even if it's not every single day or every single week, or even if it's in seasons, there are some seasons where I'm like, okay, I feel myself getting a little heavy. Maybe I'm trying to carry too much. Let me get on the phone. Let me call Kobe. You know? So I feel like all of us need a space where we can release, you know, that the tensions of life, just life in general, to talk these things out. I believe there's a story in scripture that talks about two sisters, Mary and Martha. And Jesus stops by, the Bible says, Martha's house. I don't think we often put enough focus on that. Jesus stops by Martha's house. And when he enters the house, Martha goes back to working and cooking and preparing for him, but Mary sits at his feet and she worships. I think a lot of times what we find in the Christian arena or in the kingdom is that we can work so much that we fail to take care of ourselves mentally. I believe that what Mary was doing was getting a mental break, a space in the presence of God where I'm seeing for myself, I'm singing about myself. Instead, Martha was like a lot of us, no, I gotta get this done. I gotta get up and preach every week. I gotta go to work every day. I gotta make sure that I'm encouraging people, like you were saying. I gotta make sure I'm inspiring everybody. But who is taking time to take care of you? And I feel like we can compare ourselves sometimes to those two characters in scripture. Am I gonna be the one who's working and never sitting down to take care of myself and sitting at the feet? Even for some of us that work in church, you ain't got to be the one up singing every Sunday. Sit down and receive. You don't have to be the one up at the door ushering every week. Sit down and receive. Do something where you're filling yourself up again so that you have what it takes to go out and pour more. So I found that space for me, and it wasn't always me. I was the person who was always living in next. Like I could be, there are times, like even with that Grammy, I don't really remember it. And then it wasn't so much just grief, it was just because I was a workaholic. Like I could be like, did y'all answer that email? You know, where are we going next week?
Okay, now you on my street.
I'm stepping on your toes, right?
Because after this episode, I was like, we need to have a meeting. We got to get ready. Like, because there's so many things.
Celebrate the now. You know,
that's good.
Celebrate the now. What you find sometimes in scripture is when they would experience major successes, that they would build an altar. They would take a moment and establish something so that when I'm facing something hard in life in the next 5-10 years, I can look back to 2004 and see what God did, and the same God that did it back then is going to do it again. So stop and build an altar, celebrate those moments. And one of the things that my therapist would tell me to do, I still do to this day, and she told me, make those people who are closest to you, make them make you be present. And I was like, how do I do that? And she said, so for me, I have arthritis in my toes. I know my sneaker game tight, but it's because, you know, I have arthritis in both of my toes. I used to play basketball. I broke my toe, whole long story.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, if I got to wear sneakers, I got to be the best at it, right?
Yes.
So I started studying the culture, all of that. We own a sneaker store, all this kind of stuff.
Really?
Yes.
That's so cool.
But it started from me having a broke toe with arthritis. You know, sometimes you got to make lemonade out of the lemons.
Absolutely.
And so she would say to me, she said, make them ask you questions like, how do your toes feel right now? Wow. Do you have a headache right now? They make me be present in the moment. My husband will stop sometimes and he'll grab my shoulders and he'll say, do you have a headache right now? You know, what does this moment feel like? Yeah. You were just on Crystal's podcast. How do you feel? You know, so those just minor little things to make me be present. I still work a lot, but I think I've matured to the place where take care of Tasha first and all of these things. You know, sometimes success can be fleeting. It can be here today, gone tomorrow. But have you taken care of yourself? Am I strong enough mentally that if it's gone tomorrow, that it won't break me down, that I won't die in that season?
Exactly.
You know? So that's just where I am now.
I love that. You just helped me, because I know my team back there like, thank you for saying that. I know y'all look.
I would be sitting in award show sending out emails. Like, where are we going tomorrow?
Tasha, are we like what? Like
yes,
a twin for real?
Seriously.
Yeah, that is me. I'm always like, I don't know. I think also because I had the example of like a Tyler Perry who like was there with us grinding. Every time I looked up when I was tired, I saw him behind that monitor. Like I never felt like I was in it alone as the person who was pushing, you know, the whole thing. And he was driving it, but we were the ones working together. So I think a part of it is like, I never want anybody to feel like we doing all this and she just shows up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But there is a part of where you gotta like let people do what they are, what they do, you know?
Because you're building the culture. So if they see you doing it and they're like, this is how it, I have to be this way in order to be successful.
Yes, and that's what
my husband says this thing that rest is trust. Pastor Darius is also our pastor. I don't know if you know that. So Pastor Darius is our pastor.
Shout out, PD.
And he teaches us that, you know, trust God with one day out of your 7. Because God will allow you to do more with 6 days than the average person can do with 7. That is so true. If you trust him with your rest. So rest is trust.
I'm trying to get that Saturday off so I can rest.
Saturdays, make it your Sabbath.
Yes, I'm trying to get it this week because I'm tired.
Good, get you some rest.
Right, no. But thank you for that, seriously. I needed that because it is hard to find the moment to just decompress and breathe. It's important.
You've been killing it though.
Thank you. I tell everybody to make sure you rest, and then I'm like,
and
you ain't resting, girl. Sit down somewhere.
Rest is trust.
It is. I like that. I think that's gonna be my takeaway for this. I like that. Rest is. I gotta remember that. Rest is trust. You have been an incredible merger between gospel and hip hop. I love the songs you done. You work with Nicki Minaj. And that was like even when I saw, I was like, okay, I was like, that's fire. And I love that she's taking these risks. What made you say, you know what, like, these are people I want to work with and I'm going to do it no matter what? Because, you know, you'll get backlash for certain things, but what made you say, I'm going to do it anyway?
I'm gonna do it anyway, you know. And I love this conversation. I think it's great because I've been hearing you talk a lot about the season that you're in and how people, the comments about you representing Christ and representing the kingdom. You know, each of us, the Bible talks about walking out your own soul salvation. You know, how is God instructing you to represent Him in the earth? And it may not be the way, you know, such and such was called to do it, or those who went before me were called to do it. Like I love Yolanda. Yolanda goes on different platforms that you don't see a lot of gospel artists on, but even her walk is different than mine. You know, and so there are some areas where you have these people where you can say, okay, that person mentors me. My life a little bit looks like theirs, but then there are some doors that God opens for you that's just for you. Where it's like, hey, I want you to represent me this way, and that's what that has been for me. And you see a lot of different collaborations now. Like Kirk does a lot of collaborations. Chandler has done collaborations. collaborations. But in the season where I did this song with Nikki, I'm Getting Ready on my album, and it just wasn't very, very popular. You know, I had done a song with Common before, but then you go to somebody like Nicki Minaj and people think she represents one thing. Well, you don't really know these people. You know, a lot of times it's career, it's the success, sometimes it's just character. You know, and you thinking, we're not judging you based on Zatima.
We are not. Thank you.
Yes. You know, it's the character that you put on. It's your job. And so I got to know Nikki.
Yes.
And then knowing Nikki has a relationship with God, and she cares that other people do too. Does it mean that she's without flaw? No. But none of us are. You know what I'm saying? So who am I to say that? She called me and she said, you know, I want this album to be the first one where I put my relationship with God on display. Wow. And who am I to say you can't do that?
Right, exactly.
You know, and so after hearing God and praying about it, if God says yes, then I'm gonna go with what he says.
That's beautiful.
And we got backlash, the comments were crazy, I sold out, you know, all this kind of stuff. It was terrible.
Oh my
you know, but when you hear God say for you to do something, stick to it and do what he says. Because some of those same people now, as years later, have come back. They're in my DM saying, I judged you when that happened, but now I have a greater understanding.
That's beautiful.
You know, now I see. Yeah. So there are people who have come to me and repented, you know, for what they did or what they said. And even if they don't, you know, I'm sure that this was God's will for me. Even the song, so we did another one, Blessings, on her last album. And that moment, so we were in the studio. I went to LA to do that one in the studio with her. And we just had a moment where it was like, hey, we don't want to just leave it up to chance that people understand who we're talking about. So Nikki said to me, I want you to say the name Jesus.
I know that's right.
You know what I'm saying? Ooh. So a lot of people may think this is, no, it's going both ways. And there's a relationship there. And it doesn't matter how people may judge me or what they think about it, because I know for sure that this is something that God has called me to do. So you have to just stand firm on that.
Now, in the midst of like the backlash, how did you handle that? Because for me, and you've heard me be vocal about it, there's times where I'm like, I ain't about to say nothing else. Like, I'm good. Like, how do you handle it in the middle of, because hindsight, you're like, I said yes to what God told me to do, and people had something to say, but like, what do you feel in those moments?
I mean, it's painful. You know, a lot of times, and we're human, so you can get a million comments that are like, go girl, you did it, you killing it, and it's one. You know, that one is just,
it's like,
why can't you just be like everybody over here? You know, I've learned that blocking is a ministry.
Baby,
you know?
I love the block button.
So before I respond, I'm gonna give you grace and just block you. You know, there have been seasons where I've responded, but even during that time, I may have responded like once. I think I posted something, and then after that, I just didn't feel right. I felt like, okay, let me just let this breathe, and whatever happens, happens, because I know that ultimately vengeance is the Lord's.
It is,
you know, and that it comes from, it requires a lot. Like right now, my husband and I have been studying Proverbs, just talking about wisdom. It's crazy, man.
We did the Wise Up Challenge. That book of Proverbs.
The first 3 chapters of Proverbs, man, it'll bless you. So right now, I think being able to not respond requires wisdom.
That's so true.
You know, it requires you to say, you know, this ain't about me anyway. You know, it's ultimately maybe the person who's commenting, maybe they don't have a great understanding, maybe they don't have a revelation of what you're called to do.
That's true.
And I can't prove this to everybody in the world. You'll be commenting all day. You will, because you respond to that one, then somebody else gonna come back, and before you know it, you're overwhelmed in this space, and it's like I'm not even gonna take myself there. Ultimately, I know that I'm doing the will of God for my life, and that's all that matters.
That's all. I love that, because some days I have time.
Some days I have time.
And some people, like my friends, are like, Crystal, who's around you? Tell them to take your phone. Give your phone to somebody. I'm like, no.
Like my God kids will call me and say, now we know you're not gonna respond. Do you release us to respond? Sometimes I'll be like, just a little bit. Don't give them too much.
Don't do it, just a little. Yeah, that is so funny. Because my fans, when I tell you, I realize I don't have to say anything because they ride for me so hard. So the things I really want to say, I love y'all because y'all let them know.
Kudos.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, good, I can just sit back because I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted to say, but I can't say it.
Yes.
But I love the block button. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
My absolute favorite.
It's a blessing.
It is. It really is. It is. When we talk about blessings, do you find that there's a burden and a blessing that comes with being in the ministry? Because sometimes people feel that there's a weight that comes along with carrying this.
Yes.
This cross, you're literally carrying a cross. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's a day. Every day, it's an intentional choice. Mm-hmm. Like I choose to carry the weight that comes with it. Yeah. One of my good friends, his name is S.Y. Younger, and he was talking to us the other week, and he said, we love to talk about the cross that Jesus carried, but I think we live in a generation now of Christians who are crossless Christians, where we don't want to carry our cross. And I was like, you know, because the cross is heavy.
It is.
So there is a burden that comes with representing Christ, especially outside of the four walls of the church. Like I applaud people like you who know I'm not standing on a stage preaching. I'm not, I'm not Sarah. I'm not Priscilla Shire, but I am Crystal, and I'm doing it now. I got to do it through TV and film. Yeah, it's a weight.
Yeah, it is.
You know, to represent him in that way, but to see the benefits of it, to see so many people now who say maybe I'm not like Tasha and I'm not like Sarah, but I see myself in Crystal, that I have all of these gifts that may not be used so much in the church, but they're used outside of the four walls of the church. And many times that's where you would find Jesus.
Yeah, because we are the church.
Yeah, it's like he was walking up the street.
Listen.
Like he was hosting conferences out by the ocean with fish, you know? And so that's the kind of God that we serve, that, hey, I do want you to forsake not to assemble together at your weekly gatherings, but I want you to take that out now and represent me. And that's not always going to be easy. There's a weight that comes with that. But I am honored to carry it. You know, if he could carry his cross and die for us and do all the things that he did, certainly I can carry the weight of my little cross.
Yeah, you know? Right. Absolutely. I love that. Tasha, thank you.
So kudos to you. You killing it, girl. You represent the kingdom well. I don't care what nobody says.
Oh,
you represent very well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Because I do doubt that sometimes. Like, God, am I doing? And even in this season, I found myself searching and talking to him more. Guide me in the way that you want me to represent you. Like, because I think it may have been Sarah or something happened during Woman Evolve where someone said, we are living in a time where the people that are unlikely will be the ones that are raising up the kingdom and spreading the word. And it'll be the people that you wouldn't even expect, like, wait, that's who he's using? And I made a comment about how I noticed like a lot of like singers and different people in the entertainment industry are publicly turning their life over to Christ and bringing the millions of followers that God brought to them, but it was for his glory in the end.
That's one of the things that happened even with the songs with Nikki. There were so many people who started following me or bought my album who they would say to me, I didn't believe in God before I heard this song. Or this is the first gospel album I've ever purchased. That alone, I'm like, hey, people, and I get the testimonies too of, well, what about our girls? And what about our girls being exposed to this and exposed to that? I believe that God will cover our children. They will cover those who we are called to, who are in our churches and our homes, but we also have to reach those who are not. How else do we do it besides collaborating with people who represent him outside of the four walls? So, I know that's what I'm called to. I know that's a part of. So thank you again for that too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Is there anything that you can let us know that you're working on? What's coming up? I want to know all the details.
We are on the Good News Tour.
Yes, I'm excited about that.
I'm out there I call them my kids.
Because they are.
I'm Auntie Tasha now.
Same.
So we're with Maverick City, and so we got Ty Galbraith, Naomi Rain, Chandler, Tim Godfrey is gonna be with us.
Okay.
So it's gonna be incredible. I'm looking forward to it. Tours always stretch you, so I'm looking forward to how I'm gonna grow as a person, just being out in different cities every night. So I don't know if people know that side of it. Like, I'm also growing every night, having these encounters and having this experience in worship, and even having the conversations with different artists backstage and living with them for all of these months. We grow together and it sharpens us. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'm excited.
You gotta come to the show.
I'm coming, honey.
Yes.
You know I'm there. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
And I went to the last Kingdom tour they did here in Atlanta, and I had to film the next day. I didn't have a voice. Baby, I was up there, bless me, bless. I was like, Crystal, you gotta calm down. I kept saying, I have to work tomorrow. I have to work. I was like, I gotta give you my voice.
He'll give you something. If I gotta whisper, I won't praise tonight.
Yes,
So we do have the tour. I'm excited about that, and the books. All right, the devotional and do it anyway. I put my life in that, so it's memoirs and stories.
Amazing.
From even my childhood of going back, watching how it was just a theme in our house to get up and do it anyway, even if you don't feel like it.
I love that.
I believe it's going to be an encouragement to so many people.
I love it. I'm looking at the titles that you have: Discover It, Pursue It, Read It, Hide It.
Ooh,
that's a good one. Yes, question it, create it. I'm a creator, so I love that. Oh wow, it's so it's a 60. This is amazing. 60 days.
To a bolder faith.
Yep, I cannot wait to dive into this.
Thank you.
Seriously,
Thank
I
you
love
so
starting my day with devotionals. I love starting with meditation and just really being still. So I'm gonna add this to my morning routine.
Thank you
I
so
cannot wait. No,
much.
thank you. Seriously, I love you, and I'm so glad I got to share space with you. This has been incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love you.
Yes,
and keep rocking it. Keep rocking that hair. Seriously.
You too. The curls is popping.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Whew, guys, I have to admit, Tasha Cobbs Leonard left me with so much to think about and pray about. So much that it was actually kind of challenging to come up with a gem for the day. But if I had one takeaway, it would be that rest is trust. Guys, I'm such a workhorse. I love having my hands in everything because I have so many things going on, but sometimes I just need to be still. So that is my takeaway and my gem for this week. Today's show was nothing short of amazing, and I can't thank you guys enough for watching. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Love Crystal Renee, and you can also follow the show at Keep It Positive Sweetie. If you want to write into our Positive Outcomes listener letter, you can send us an email at keepitpositivesweetie@gmail.com. In the meantime, in between time, y'all already know what to do. Keep it positive, sweetie. I'll see you guys next time.